Uh, well, I do think that the untapped potential of Europe and trade between Europe and India is probably the highest of all untapped potential at this point of time, and probably for the next 5 or 6 years. But we have to keep in mind that we have to be patient because Europe is changing, but it is changing at its own pace. Europe has its own challenges, but Europe also wants to be as competitive as they always have been. And they will get back to the competitiveness. Germany just became the most competitive engineering nation last year after having lost it for 4 or 5 years. Even though there are a lot of labor challenges in Europe, the labor in Europe is very pragmatic. There's only labor I know of in the last few years who have negotiated with the management and taken lower salaries to retain competitiveness. You don't hear of that in a labor environment ever. We've got to be patient, and we've got to learn to think like them and have people who are local to be able to be successful in that business. And I think, yes, private equity will play a critical role for us to be able to break the small acquisition cycle and to go really big in Europe, because otherwise the financial model we have, there'll be too much pressure on margins, too much pressure on the earnings and so on, so that we will not be able to justify to our investors. So private equity will play a very big role going forward in all transactions that happens between India and Europe.
Thank you, Steve. Bernard?
Well, I agree, first of all, with what was said by Stefan and Sudip. What I want to say, I don't see myself in the future mega transactions happening between Indian companies and European companies, because I believe that Indian companies, it would be too earning dilutive for earning company. But not only that, I think integration would be probably a critical issue and detrimental to the quality of service to the clients. And somewhat large Indian companies probably would have a conflict of interest if they were to buy a mega company in Europe, because they would have to take away work from the business they have bought and probably have to redeploy thousands of people. And that would not be easy. So I don't see these kind of transactions happening. Certainly we'll see more acquisitions done by Indian companies into Europe, because that's where the potential of business exists. And now North America is a very mature and very well exploited market from that point of view. I believe as well, from our own point of view as a company, that India is an ideal platform as well for developing business in Asia. And that probably is another panel to discuss this. But we see India for us as a platform to develop in other parts of the world as well. In terms of verticals, financial services, but they've already been quite involved in India. Certainly telecom, as I said before, healthcare, probably. Public sector, it's more difficult, even if probably in Europe it's only in the UK that we are seeing some experiments. But in continental Europe, I don't see the public sector going to India too easily. Maybe with the time it will come. What I believe overall is that I think, in effect, there is, as Sudip was saying, a lot of cultural proximity between India and Europe. Except people on both parts, have not spent enough time to realize it.
Okay, thank you.